This is super exciting to be here with you all together to celebrate what really is a critical moment for this community and in the life of the Kingsbridge Armory. My name is Andrew Kimball. I'm president and CEO of NYC EDC. This is a city asset. It is also a community asset. EDC is the quasi-governmental partner in charge of working with this community to bring Kingsbridge Armory to a new day, and today is really the beginning of that process. So first off, I want to thank Councilmember Sanchez, Congressmember Adriano Espaillat, Borough President Vanessa Gibson, Senator Gustavo Rivera, Sandra Lobo, and the Northwest Bronx Community Clergy Coalition and Community Board 7 for all being with us today. We're here today because of the building you see behind me. For those of you who do not know, this is the Kingsbridge Armory, the largest armory in the world. Largest in the world. It is astonishing. You walk in, it has a ground floor of 200,000 square feet, ceiling height of 100 feet, column-free. It is an amazing facility, 6 floors below that, a lot of space. Most recently, it served as a safe haven for New York City, first as an emergency food distribution site during the pandemic, thanks to the leadership of so many of the people up here, and last year, again, thanks to these community leaders, helping this community after the devastating Twin Peak fire. But for far too long, Kingsbridge Armory's doors have been closed to the public and to this community. However, today marks a new chapter, not only for this building, but for the Bronx and our city. And that's why today we're joined by the community in announcing the launch of a new engagement process that will start to plan the future of the Kingsbridge Armory. Starting this week, we'll be holding public workshops that will help us better understand what the community believes and wants for the future of this important asset. This work will be led by the Kingsbridge Armory Working Community Group that's co-chaired by Councilmember Pierina Sanchez and Northwest Bronx Community and Clergy Coalition Executive Director Sandra Lobo. Additional members of this working group include other elected officials here with us today and over 20 diverse stakeholders from the community representing sectors such as education, health, labor, business, and more. We'll be listening to what the community has to say, taking a detailed look at the building's condition, and really thinking creatively about how to maximize this building's use while also ensuring this is something the community can be proud of. At EDC, this is what we do in communities across the city. We are led by the community's desires. It requires robust engagement on the front end and then execution on the back end, hopefully in what will be a very, very strong public-private partnership going forward in the future. But we're just at the beginning today, and really to kick this off, and somebody who's got very special news for us today, I want to turn it over to Councilmember Sanchez.
I'm excited. Woo! Yes, so you know me. I like to start with a little bit of energy, right? So when I say together for, you're gonna say Kingsbridge. Together for? Kingsbridge. Together for? Kingsbridge. Together for? Kingsbridge. When I say juntos para, ustedes dicen Kingsbridge. Juntos para? Kingsbridge. Juntos para? Kingsbridge. Juntos para? Kingsbridge. Juntos para Kingsbridge. My name is City Council Member Pierina Sanchez. City Council is now in my birth certificate. Just kidding. I want to thank so much to the President of the Economic Development Corporation and to every single person who made time to be here today. Since 1917, this building has been so many things. It's been home to 10,000 troops during World War II, offices for the United Nations in the 1940s and 50s, while their permanent digs were being completed downtown. A venue for hip-hop concerts, the birth of hip-hop. Movies have been filmed here. Emergencies have been responded to here. See, this building represents so much of our dynamism in this community. For the people of color and for the immigrants who traveled to this country, to this city, this building represents promise. And a part of that promise is permanence, is having this asset be something that is contributing to our community. I love that guy. The Armory is going to be a permanent part of that striving. We've tried before. In 2013, 27 of our community-based organizations made history negotiating a community benefits agreement with the Kingsbridge National Eye Center. It included community facility space, good wages, local hire, reinvestment into the community. And in partnership with those same groups today and more, those requirements will become the floor and not the ceiling. Our parents, our students, our merchants, our street vendors, our institutions that you see all with us today are going to be at the forefront. We need to pursue a project that is going to build our health and our wealth, not be a vehicle for gentrification that pushes us out. So what are we doing here today? Today we are announcing 3 building blocks. First, we're announcing an in-depth design and engineering studies that are being commissioned by the Economic Development Corporation. These are going to provide the city and the public with a precise measure of the remediation work necessary in that building. It's also going to model for us adaptive reuse. Number 2, we're announcing a robust community engagement process that is anchored by neighborhood leaders. This process is going to ensure that community priorities remain at the forefront. And this process is the city and the elected officials dipping its toe into a process that has been ongoing with the Northwest Bronx Community Clergy Coalition. And third, I am proud to announce a $5 million capital investment from the New York City Council. These $5 million will serve to address the most immediate hazards facing the Armory so that it can be open to the public during this process. Together, these are the building blocks, 1, 2, and 3, that are going to set us on the path to successfully redeveloping the Armory. Now, I'm going to do something, it might take me a second, but I have to call out each and every single one of the working group members. First, I want to thank my colleague, my speaker, Adrian Adams of the New York City Council. The governor's office is also here today. The mayor's office has also been supportive of the New York City Economic Development Corporation supporting this process. And of course, EDC, President Andrew Kimball is with us today. Our Bronx Borough President is supportive of the process, as well as U.S. Representative Adriano Espaillat, New York State Senator Gustavo Rivera, Assembly Member Jose Rivera, Community Board 7. In the community partners, we have my co-lead here, found that, Sandra Lobo from the Northwest Bronx Community and Clergy Coalition. We have Dominicanos USA, the Gardner Foundation, which runs basketball clinics and all kinds of community supports at St. James Park for many, many years. The Kingsbridge Heights Community Center, Mekong, New York City, Our Lady of Angels Parish, Morris Heights Health Center, Lehman College, Monroe College, Community School District 10's Parent Leadership, the Bronx Cooperative Development Initiative, the Bronx Group, and the Bronx Overall Economic Development Corporation. This isn't everybody in our community, but what we're trying to do is we're trying to bring in segments that can bring in everyone else. As an urban planner, I'm all too familiar with how all over the city, communities complain when these kinds of redevelopment processes come around. You don't care about what we have to say. The project is already baked. No one is ever going to listen to us. The short timeline is not going to allow for community input. Now, you've all heard about the calm before the storm, but in urban planning, what we should be doing is embracing the storm before the calm. Planning is the storm before the calm. This community process will invite all perspectives and feel unwieldy at times, yet it will be the foundation for what is to come. This is a public site, and so following the community engagement process that we're talking about today, EDC will need to construct an RFP process, a competitive process that's going to be able to select the winner or the winning team for who is going to redevelop the Armory. And then after that, there's still more. The city council has to vote. There has to be a ULURP process, the Uniform Land Use Review Procedure. That is going to give an opportunity to the community board, to the borough president, to the city planning commission, and to the New York City Council to vote on this process. So the road will be long, but together, today what we're doing is we're launching that process with the 3 building blocks. And we're taking an incredible step forward to make the Kingsbridge Armory a development. Do you see how the sun came out? Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Council Member, for your leadership, your energy, and your resources. So critical in terms of allocating that $5 million to get us going. I would now like to call up Sandra Lobo, who, as the council member said, will be absolutely critical in co-chairing this community-led task force that envisions the future of the Kingsbridge Armory.
Yeah.
Good afternoon. So as Andrew mentioned, my name is Sandra Lobo, Executive Director of the Northwest Bronx Community Clergy Coalition. We are a community-based organization committed to racial justice and economic democracy. In other words, we're building shared ownership and wealth and collective governance for our people over the assets in our community. The Bronx is too often described in terms of our worst statistics. Y'all have heard them before. Poorest health outcomes in the state, highest unemployment rates, poor graduation rates, high rates of eviction. It goes on. And we know that during the pandemic, all of these got exacerbated. But we understand that these poor statistics are a reflection of the generations of systematic disinvestment and marginalization of our people, and not a reflection of our people. We know full well that the Bronx is full of assets, of leaders, of innovators, creators, entrepreneurs, organizations, and institutions who have been instrumental in responding to redlining and disinvestment in the 70s, rebuilding in the 80s and 90s, and fighting off displacement and gentrification until today. The Bronx has been organizing to address the root causes of poor health, education, housing, and more. I share this history and framework at today's event because we are here to share the relaunching of a development process around the world's largest armory, an incredible Bronx asset that can be used to invest in our people and help build shared wealth and ownership for our community here, or it can be used to further expedite displacement pressures and undermine our local economy even further. The Northwest Bronx Community Clergy Coalition, along with our labor, faith, and community partners, have been organizing around the Kingsbridge Armory for over 26 years, fighting to ensure this asset is our community's asset, the asset to build the future of the next generation, the asset that can be a catalyst to transform our economy to one that builds cooperative ownership, community governance, local hiring, good wages, and more. We're committed to working with the city, our elected representatives, and community stakeholders in developing a project that invests in our people and builds our Bronx. Who's Bronx?
Our Bronx.
Who's Bronx?
Our Bronx.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sandra. It's now my great pleasure to introduce a true partner for the EDC, somebody who's actually serves on our board, helps guide us every day, who I know, along with the community, is going to hold our feet to the fire on this project to make sure we get it right. It's a great pleasure to introduce Deputy Borough President Janet Peguero.
Gracias. Buenas tardes. No, buenas tardes, because as the council member said, este momento es para nosotros. Este momento es para nuestro vecindario. Este momento es de nosotros. Thank you so much, President Andrew Kimball, for the introduction. I have the esteemed pleasure of representing our Bronx Borough President, Vanessa L. Gibson, as her Deputy Bronx Borough President. I will keep my remarks brief because the passion has been shared, the history has been shared, but I want to acknowledge the leaders of the community working group. Sandra Lobo, you know, you've been in this work for so long, historically fighting for us. Council member Pierina Sanchez, a daughter, una hija de este vecindario, the daughter of this neighborhood. Both women who are deeply rooted, personally connected to this project. Our senator, are strong allies that regardless of the lines, I know that you will always support us. You will always support us, and you've been supporting, you've been doing this work. You're not new to this, you're true to this. To our congressmen, I know that every time there is a conversation on a national level that speaks about economic development, now we know that the Kingsbridge Armory will be a part of that conversation and a part of that equation. So thank you, Congressman. To our Madam City Council Speaker, Adrienne Adams, for her collaboration and working with our councilwoman to ensure that the allocations come right here to the Bronx. It doesn't speak not only to her commitment to our borough, but to her economic development commitment citywide. However, I will be remiss because none of this is possible without our community leaders who have been fighting for equity and investment for our armory since years before I was born. Thank you for keeping the fire alive still. We stand on your shoulders, on the foundation that you've created. We will get this right. We will ensure that our vision comes into fruition. Know that every single elected official in every city and state representative here is personally and deeply committed to the creation, to the renaissance of our armory. The armory represents the future, and as Sandra beautifully and eloquently stated, we are the birthplace of so many beautiful gems, the birthplace of hip-hop, the home of the Yankees, the birthplace of salsa. But the fact that as Bronx residents, we don't capitalize off of our natural resources speaks to the systemic disinvestment and the historical disinvestment. This is systemic by design, and we are taking that back. And so together for Kingsbridge, Juntos para Kingsbridge, I know that the community organizations that are here today and our community efforts are going to be rooted in equity and ensuring that advocacy is not a luxury, but an essential part of this equation, ensuring that there is access and accessibility, that the working group meetings are scheduled in appropriate time so that our tios, hermanos, abuelas, and everyone in between is here and present in the conversation. And so again, I want to thank each and every one of you for being here. This is a labor of love, and we will get this across the finish line. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. A project of this scale and complexity is not only going to require enormous community engagement, planning, and ongoing partnership. It's going to require enormous private investment, and it's going to require enormous public investment. We heard about the tremendous down payment that's going to get us going today from the council member, but overall, we're not going to be successful here without significant investment at the city, the state, and the federal level. And I'm really honored to introduce our next speaker, somebody who's going to play a key role as we move forward and are able to fund this project, and that's State Senator Gustavo Rivera.
Good afternoon, everyone. Now, the sister was correct. My district, which now includes this armory, is now going to start on Jerome Avenue. Woo! So right over there, which doesn't necessarily make me happy because I live a block away, and I'm gonna have to move over there. But let's make sure that we remember something. I'm sure that you know this phrase, la tercera es la vencida. In English, third time's a charm. Many folks certainly have been fighting for a long time, but I specifically, since I moved here, I remember specifically when there was this whole conversation about bringing a big mall here, and it was many of the folks who were sitting here who were looking around going like, we have businesses already. Are you actually going to employ our people at a fair wage? No, we're going to resist that. C'est la primera. The second one, when some of the folks, again, who are standing right here, negotiated in good faith with a developer who said that he would put, and we got it. They've actually managed to get this, a community benefits agreement, a historic document, which would have secured all sorts of community benefits, as was mentioned by my sister, Councilmember Pierina earlier, will be the floor and not the ceiling. And unfortunately, that fell through, as we've already talked about that. Pero gente, this is the third time. And what we're doing here today is just reaffirming the commitment from the city, and I certainly thank the mayor for his commitment, the commitment from the state, and I thank the governor, because one of the things that we were able to do in the budget that we passed just this year was that I was able to secure the $100 million that had been secured previously for economic development in this property will not go anywhere. It is in the state budget, and it's $100 million that will only go to economic development in this property. So we're able to secure that. So there's a commitment from the federal government as well. I know the Congress member is incredibly interested in making sure that we bring resources here. So bottom line, folks, all of these things are about making sure that we recognize that everybody knows this is a community asset and it must be driven by the needs of the community. And so that's why I'm incredibly happy to continue to be in this partnership, not only with these elected officials, but certainly with the community members, with my neighbors, who have played such a central role over the last 20 or some odd years, more than that, in repeating over and over again, this is our armory. And whatever comes here needs to benefit us as a community. Just happy to be standing here with you, making sure you pass. Thank you.